on the front a narrative and on the back a table summarizing our budget revision for 2024 and request for 2025. Some key points from that table. Our revised 2024 budget is within our appropriation and allows us to fully staff our agency. About $4.1 million was appropriated to our agency for fiscal year 24. Based on our revised budget, we'll have a surplus of $576,000, and those budgeted funds will be lapsed back to the state general fund. The 24 budget allows us to fully staff our agency, and it also sets aside funds for contractors to assist with performance audits and economic development evaluations. Our requested 2025 budget of $3.48 million is almost identical to our 2024 revised budget. This budget also allows us to fully staff our agency. It is slightly below the 2024 revised budget because it includes less funding for contractors. We'll use any money that we don't spend in 2024 to supplement funding for contractors in 2025. Does the committee have any questions?
Senator Tyson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chris, I want to comment you. This is excellent. In fact, I think we should start using, requesting some of this information from other budgets that we see in the legislature. I don't think anybody's ever turned back money.
No.
And the fact that we can see what you're doing very nicely and concisely is a great format. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I do have one question. So you said that in the case that you go, that you'll need more than the 3.4 million or 3.5 million in 24 for contracted budget or contracted audits, you would use money that wasn't used in 24. How do you accomplish that if we're returning the 576 to the state general fund, or can you rebalance that?
Yeah, it's kind of a rebalancing. We in the budget for 24, I have funding for contractors, and then whatever isn't used rolls over to 25.
So that'd be in addition to the 576 that would be remitted back to the state general fund?
It is not in addition to, it is, it's
Part of.
it's hard, it's part of.
Okay, got it. Yeah. Thanks for clearing that up. Senator, any questions? No further questions.
Okay, then you have a task on the agenda. I need a motion to approve or modify and approve the budget request.
Senator Tyson makes the motion and Senator Ware seconds it. Any discussion? (2024) and 2025 approval. All in favor say aye. Aye. All against say no. Motion passes.
And just so you know, all of the business that we conduct today in this executive committee, anything that passes out of here then goes to the full committee at that October meeting. So at the October meeting, the full committee will review the budget.
Then once it passes out of that committee, where does it go? Does it go to the appropriations? LCC, got it.
Then it goes to, we have a lot of extra steps, so.
Okay, good luck.
Yeah, thanks. That's why we have to meet in October, because LCC meets usually later in October. So I have to get it through you guys before it can go to LCC.
All right, moving on to post-auditor evaluation kickoff. Chris, you're up again.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There's another one-pager. It looks like this in your materials called Post-Audit Evaluation Kickoff. Per committee rule 5.1, the Legislative Post-Audit Committee should conduct an annual performance evaluation of the post-auditor. That evaluation should be done between August and December in a closed executive meeting. Historically, that evaluation process has included the following steps. Tom Day, the Director of Legislative Administrative Service, would email an evaluation form to the 10 committee members. Committee members would complete the form and return it to Tom Day. Tom would review the forms and summarize the results. Tom would present the summary to the committee in a closed executive session, And then the committee would bring me in to share the results and express any comments they have with my performance in a closed executive session. If we kick this off now and follow this typical pattern, the survey would go out after the October meeting if the full committee approves this, and then my evaluation would be at the December meeting. So I'm just looking for you guys to decide whether you want to use the standard process or if you would like to take some other action for my annual evaluation.
Any suggestions or? No? Senator Ware?
I don't see any reason to reinvent the wheel.
Couldn't agree with you more. Do we have to vote on that?
Yes.
Okay, we need a motion to approve the process. Senator Tyson motions to do so, and Senator Ware seconds. All in favor say aye. All against say no. Motion passes. Proposed legislation. Chris, you're up again.
Okay, this is our last item of business and may generate some discussion. There's a sideways table. So these are, I should clarify, these are our ideas, post-audit, bringing before you guys. We have a couple of statutory requirements with recurring audits that we're proposing you consider whether you want to kill those, and then some clarification to existing statutory language. So the first one is we're requesting a bill to remove LPA or LPAC from the 911 audits. This is in statute. KSA 125377 requires LPA audit the implementation of the 911 system every 5 years. This audit also by statute addresses fee levels and proper use of monies. This requirement originated in 2011. The system is basically implemented by all, from what I'm hearing, so there's no further need for an implementation audit. Further, the 911 Council audits the PSAP expenditures to make sure they are within the 8 allowable uses defined in statute. And any future 911 issues regarding fees or expenditures always could be requested as an ad hoc performance audit. For the committee's edification, the last 911 audit is currently underway. 2023 was the current one. We do it every 5 years. It's currently underway. It will be ready for you all at the December meeting. But preliminary indications from the 911 Council and doing the background work is the system is implemented statewide. And that was kind of the genesis of this audit, was to check on system and implementation periodically when it was 911 first came about. So open to committee discussion. Again, anyone can request an audit of 911, any aspect of 911 at any time. This is just trying to clear this recurring audit off the books.
So would this be legislation then that we would have to pass to take it off?
Yes. And this statute, this KSA 125377, in the statute itself, it says the legislature shall review the statute in 2024, which is a strange provision, but during your review, if you want to just kill the audit, we're just tossing it out there.
Okay.
If you find it useful and helpful, great, but anyone can request an audit.
Senator Tyson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Has there ever been anything discovered in previous audits?
The main focus is the implementation of the system. So first audit, 13 counties, and then 26 counties, and then 50, so now we're implemented. On the fees, some minor things they found in the past, and they were corrected or reversed or reimbursed or that sort of thing.
I just know that a previous legislator had in-depth knowledge of this and always had concerns as to misuse of funds and other items. So I don't know, Mr. Chairman, if we need a motion, I'm willing to do it, but we should consider what's been found in the past.
So, I asked Chris a while back to go through and find some of these audits that are in statute that we can kind of dismiss for now. I mean, if there are complaints, especially about the use of funds in the future, we could always order a limited scope audit on that to go ahead and knock that out if there's a concern. But I think the goal is to reduce the workload so that we can focus on some things that the committee would rather do instead. So do you have any comment on that, Senator Ware?
Only that we have until the October meeting when the full committee considers it to see if there's something, some reason to keep it. Otherwise, I don't, I defer to you.
So do we need a motion on everything as a whole, or do you want to make a motion on each individual bill?
Let's do each individual, and yeah, I'm just looking for basically guidance if you want us to come up with some draft legislation for consideration at the next meeting.
Okay, yeah, so motion for language to delete the 9/11 audit from statute going forward by Senator Tyson, seconded by Senator Ware. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes.
Okay, the next one is sort of similar. Statute requires that we do an audit of capers. It can be any topic, any subject, every 3 years. This requirement has been on the books since 1992. So we're just requesting that maybe we take a look at that and see if we really want it. For example, at the spring meeting this year, we made you pick a capers audit, if you recall, and you guys really didn't like any of them, but we had to have one because it was 3 years and we had to have a capers audit. So again, we can do an audit of capers on anything if a ripe topic comes up, but having to do one every periodically, it's been 30 years, so just a thought.
I don't think I have a problem with deleting any mandatory audits because if there's an issue with capers, we can always come back to it and order an audit at that time rather than force one through when we might have better things to focus on that year.
That was our thought process.
So everybody seems to be in favor, so we'll make a motion to delete the statute for capers performance audits every 3 years and just take them on a case-by-case basis going forward. By Senator Tyson, second by Senator Ware. All in favor say aye. All against say no. Motion passes.
Okay, the next two have to do with economic development incentives evaluations. First up, in our statute, in the Post-Audit Act, it requires that all newly created incentives be evaluated the year after they commence. So we are requesting that LPA sponsor a bill striking this language regarding an evaluation within the first year. The effect would be any newly created incentives just go on the list of incentives for possible selection for audit. We have an economic development subcommittee that every 3 years meets and goes through the list of all the economic development incentives and selects which ones they want us to audit in the next 3-year cycle. So what we're asking for is to just delete the within 1 year part and just have any newly created incentives just be part of the pot that gets selected from. The issue is these are very hard to track. In 2022, there were almost a dozen new programs created. So we have to track the legislation all through the session and see if and when it was actually passed, how it changed, that sort of thing. And then evaluating it 1 year out, there's no activity yet. There's nothing has happened yet. So then it's just a summary of, they don't really add a lot of value. We don't think, but you're the recipient, so you tell us if differently. Again, this change would just result in any new programs just going on just being a new program, which we then periodically go audit.
Senator Tyson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So if it was 3 to 5 years, that would be, if we remove the restriction and then give you like a 3 to 5 year leeway to look at the new programs? Or would you just want the?
We were hoping just to remove the 1 year, just take that out. The Economic Development Subcommittee meets every 3 years. So every 3 years, that group gets together and goes through the list and says, we want star bonds, we want angel investor, we want RAS, we want whatever. And that's our marching orders for the next 3 years. So they just be on the list of possible.
So who is on the economic subcommittee?
It was, who was it this year?
I mean,
I believe
who
it was,
appoints it?
the chairman does.
Oh, from this committee.
From this committee, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yes, it was
I thought it was-
Representative
since he's the
Burrows.
Chair of Commerce.
It was Representative Burrows, Senator Olson, I believe, and Senator Ware, I believe you were on it. We met it's been a year
I would be fine
since we
with,
met.
I would be fine with that motion then. Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Right.
Right. In 1 year, like you say, there's nothing there really to look at, except what the statute said. And so, yeah, further out makes a lot more sense to me.
Okay, so we need a motion then to delete number 3.1, the economic development incentive evaluations that are automatic after a new one is formed, and take them on a case-by-case basis. Moved by Senator Tyson, second by Senator Ware. All in favor, say aye. All against, say no. Motion passes. Moving on.
Okay, last one, also economic development incentive evaluations. This one is a smidge trickier. The requirement is that we regularly evaluate economic development incentives. That's in our statute. And our statute points to a definition of economic development incentives in a different statute. And that statute is very broad. So our reading of that statute, we have close to 60 programs on our list that meet the definition of economic development incentive. So rather than mess with that statute and its definition, we're requesting that you guys sponsor a bill to strike the reference in our statute to that statute and instead just more narrowly define what you want us to evaluate in our statute, such as by program name or by the major programs or by program size. And again, these are the economic development incentive evaluations. There's other language that we have to review all of these every 3 years. And there's no way we can do 60 every 3 years. So it can't work as written. So we're just trying to, like I say, using this broad definition, we count 60. So just trying to narrow that down of what you want us to evaluate on this 3-year cycle as picked by the Economic Development Subcommittee.
Senator Tyson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So with all of the post audits that you've done, and they're excellent, has there ever been resulting legislation based off of an audit for these economic development programs?
To change a program or create a program or kill a program?
Yes, that's what I think. I keep seeing these reports and I don't see any changes to legislation.
Right.
And so I question if we're putting our resources in a good way. So I'm of the mindset that select.
There was that one time in 2024 when we replaced Roz. with a more beneficial program.
Yes, this is a, not new, but a new-ish requirement on our office. It came about 5 or 8 years ago in 2019 that we do these economic development. We have a team devoted and we do nothing but economic development incentive evaluations. So there's a whole process written around that.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I may, my experience, and it's limited, I'm somewhat new to the committee, but it seems like we always point out that the programs aren't doing much or that there isn't enough data, and then nothing results from it. And I don't need to have somebody study that the programs aren't doing that much and continue reporting to this committee. I mean, I just don't see the benefit. Maybe you see something different. I don't know. I think individual.
Yeah, I have nothing to say on it. I know that surprises you, but no, I'm good with it. And if you would just simply state the motion as you wish it to be, that would be easier for me than to guess at it.
Okay.
I would take it further than what you're going to do, than what this states. So
Go ahead, then. You want to make a motion?
I would state that we remove all mandated commerce audits, and that we, the legislature or us, that we come in individually like we normally do with an audit request.
Will that suffice? Strike the definition, and just
The
strike
whole function.
any
is
references.
What I'm hearing.
Automatic audits on incentive programs. And take them on a case-by-case basis. That'll accomplish what you're looking for there?
Yeah.
Okay. Motion made. Yes, seconded by Senator Ware, and yeah, I concur that this committee is well-equipped to pick the audits that they think they should do, so.
I changed that big. I guess I'm looking to you for guidance. How would that play out? Does it have a chance of going through, or is that opening us up for?
I think it gives you a lot more time and frankly, a lot more money to do things that the committee as a whole would choose to do rather than spend time monitoring the incentives when we're well-equipped to do that.
As presumably the drafter of these, the only thing that I want to point out is that it will be very easy to remove these mandated commerce audits. What it won't show in the bill is the system that's already in place for the committee to pick the incentives that it wants to review anyway. So from a bill standpoint and just how it will just look like you're removing that. So it will be on the people who are coming in support of the bill and the legislators who are on this committee and aware of what's going on to make sure that their fellow committee members on standing legislative committees understand that there is a process in place to review these, and this committee does do that because it won't look like that in the bill.
Okay, so noted. Yeah.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman?
Are you deleting the subcommittee as well?
No, we're not deleting the subcommittee. The subcommittee language would remain. Mr. Chairman, I think that's critical. I think there'll be more in tune as to what programs should be evaluated rather than just legislation that has an overall statement, do them all.
But doesn't the subcommittee function under a statute allowing us to do these audits? Right. But if we remove economic development from the statute, what would this subcommittee operate under? What authority would they have to tell us to?
I'll have to look at it a little bit more, but we can put the subcommittee in statute if you want to.
So, right, we want to delete all the unnecessary work, but still have a subcommittee that would look at the possibility of having an audit on an incentive program without a mandate of having to actually choose one.
Mr. Chairman, I think that's great because then we don't have the problem that Tamara stated. There will be language, even though these audits are going away, they'll see that audits will not go away. Right, that it'll still be reviewed.
So I think the way that I'll initially structure it is removing these mandated audits, statutorily establish a subcommittee of this committee appointed by the chairman that will recommend to the committee specific economic development audits that the committee should then recommend for the division to take up.
All right, sounds like we're all on the same page. Motion by Senator Tyson, seconded by Senator Ware. You're comfortable with that? All in favor, say aye. All against, say no. Motion passes.
That's it for,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I just have some technical questions. So we can do this in a number of ways. You can have one bill that just deals with all of the audits. You can have 3 bills, or you can have 4. It's up to you.
My preference is one, but I'm open for discussion on that. I think it's easier to sell one bill as a cleanup, as a making this committee more efficient, save money and save you time and effort.
Yeah, bring over and over again will just, it'll strain people's focus. So yeah, I think all in one makes more sense.
Then as a joint committee, you have the unique opportunity to decide whether this will be a House bill or a Senate bill or both. I will tell you, typically we go with what the chair is unless we're directed otherwise.
I was going to say, Mr. Chairman,
Put it on you guys.
that's fine. If you want to start
I
it,
can sell this, so you can start it in the House, that's fine.
or we can start it in both so we don't lose it and get it finished, since we are in the second year of a 2-year bill cycle. Maybe,
Okay, we'll do them both. What committee does that go to?
we go to the top. We decide.
That is it for committee business. Just for your edification, this sideways spreadsheet-looking thing, that is the other, that is just a list of the other statutorily required audits, and when they are coming due. We don't have any action on those, but just giving you a look ahead. There's not too many. They're starting to fall off now that we are completing our last school audit. We have one on economic impact statements down near the bottom for 2026, and one on non-resident student transfers in 2027. That's it. They're starting to tail off.
So is there no issues with any of these other reoccurring ones?
Those are just one-time audits, and those are the only 2 on the books. The other ones we've dealt with, the top 3 we've dealt with, and
Tax incentives looks like it's every 3 years.
those are the economic development incentives.
Oh,
They're
got it.
every year.
We
Yeah.
did right, okay, perfect. All right. Any other questions or comments? Thanks for doing that. I think that's going to help out a lot.
I think so, too. So then all of these items will come up to the full committee at the October 10th meeting.
Will they be on the consent calendar, or will they be
they'll be.
a topic of discussion? Okay.
Yep.
Cool. All right, we're adjourned. Thank you very much.